So I'm sure that most of us have heard this argument before.
Can we normalize having friends who have completely different opinions than we do?
And to answer your question, absolutely not, okay? We cannot be friends if we have different opinions. And in this video, we're gonna go over some of the reasons why that is. And like we usually do, at the end of the video, we're gonna go over one of my videos going over this topic and look at some of you guys' responses. But I digress, let's get into the argument. But let me backtrack a little bit, because even though I said we can't have different opinions and be friends, I didn't really mean that. For example, if you think pineapples should go on pizza, we can be friends. You know, I'm gonna look at you a certain type of way when you eat that pineapple on that pizza, but we can still be friends. Or if you think Naruto's better than One Piece, I mean, you're blatantly wrong, but we can still be friends. But if your opinion is that gay people don't deserve human rights or that black people don't deserve equality, that's where the issue comes in. So what I'm saying is, if your opinion harms another human being or violates their human rights, or if it's against equality for every single human being on earth, we cannot be friends and I don't want to be around you. And the most common instance of this situation is Democrats and Republicans. Republicans will say, I don't understand why we can't be friends, why we can't just all get along. I just vote a certain way and a different way than you do. And I'm here to tell you that the reason that we cannot be friends is because the things you are voting for, the politicians that you are putting in power, are stripping minorities of their rights. Republicans are demonizing the LGBTQ+ community, which in turn results to some of those members in the community ending their lives. Transgender individuals have a massively high suicide rate. Why is that? It's because people's quote-unquote opinions are that they shouldn't exist on the face of the earth, they shouldn't be allowed to have equality and the life of a normal human being. People say that they're mentally unstable and they must have some mental problem is why they think they're transgender. And if we lock transgender individuals in a conversion camp or an insane asylum, then the problem will be fixed and they will no longer be transgender. When in reality, people don't choose who they're attracted to, choose who they love. People don't just wake up one day and decide, oh yeah, now I'm transgender because I don't know, it's convenient for me or it's fun, okay? Being transgender is not fun. It is a very, very difficult process to go through. Your family members might disown you and abandon you. You might be walking on the street and get hate crimed. It is not something that someone would willingly choose if they had the choice. I've known that I'm a boy and a male since, I don't know, I was 1 year old. Since I even discovered the concept of, male versus female. Not once in my life have I ever questioned about what I am. But millions of people around the earth do not feel the same way I do. And maybe they were born a boy, but inside they really feel like a girl. And if your opinion is that transgender individual is the spawn of Satan, what do you think that's going to do for their mental health? Are they going to live their lives in happiness and the way they want to? Or are they always going to feel afraid and scared that someone might attack them for who they are? Stop being a bigot and then justifying it with, oh, it's just my opinion, don't take it that seriously. Because people are ending their lives over that same opinion, that same rhetoric. Laws are being passed to keep down marginalized communities because of the things you believe in, because of the people you vote for. But let's switch gears a little bit, okay? What about opinions that aren't really opinions? And what I mean by this is, some people's quote-unquote opinions are just blatantly wrong and are factually inaccurate and can be disproven with a Google search, with scientific data, you name it. For example, I saw someone a couple months ago say that their opinion is that climate change isn't real. Dude, that's not an opinion. You know what I'm saying? You're just blatantly wrong. An opinion is a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. You can come on the internet and say, in my opinion, I think MrBeast is the best YouTuber ever. But you can't come on here and say, in my opinion, MrBeast isn't popular at all. Because again, that's just blatantly wrong and can be disproven with a number of metrics. So let's talk about another opinion that can be easily disproven with scientific research and facts. And that opinion being that black people are extremely poor because they're just lazy. That there's absolutely no inequality between black and white people, and that black people just have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they'll be fine. And there's about 50 different ways I can disprove this point. No exaggeration, whether that's hiring discrimination, discriminatory lending, mass incarceration, you name it. But instead of using my white supremacy triangle to disprove this talking point, let's take a step back and look at history and see how this played out. And so we're going to look at the differences between how white and black veterans were treated in the past and how this materializes in the future and how it contributes to wealth inequality. So imagine this with me. World War II has just ended and you're ecstatic. You're a 30-year-old black man who just faithfully served his country in defending against Hitler's reign and regime. You fought through the horrors of D-Day in France and made it through unscathed throughout the war. Unless we're talking about mentally. And one of the reasons you're so excited to come back to the United States after the war is because you were promised something. Originally, you were super nervous about coming back home after the war because you had been training for years and years about how to use a gun, how to hold a gun, how to shoot a gun, but those jobs are not available for the average American citizen. But you saw that last year in 1944, something called a GI Bill was passed. And this GI Bill, spearheaded by the president at the time, FDR, established low-interest mortgage payments for veterans, allowing you to easily buy a house. And as we know, the number one way to build wealth in America is owning a home, and you are super excited to own your first home. And with these low-interest mortgages available to soldiers like you feel ecstatic, and you feel happiness like you've never felt before. And not only does this bill establish low-interest mortgage payments, but it also promises to cover tuition and expenses for veterans attending college. And so you can finally get that degree that you've been dreaming about. And you can finally build generational wealth for your family. And so you find a nice house in the suburbs, the perfect house for you, your family, and your wife. But when you ask about the property, they slam a door in your face. They don't want you there. And so you think, oh, well, maybe it's just there, maybe other places have homes I can live in. But every place you go to slams the door in your face and says no. And when you ask around and ask your other black veterans of if they're experiencing the same thing, they all say they are. Black veterans everywhere are not getting approved for loans and low interest mortgages. And you're watching as your white peers, the soldiers you served alongside of, get approved for loans and get to live in their dream house. And as they're able to build generational wealth and give their house to their kids and make all of this money, you're stuck in the hood. You're stuck in impoverished areas. And you find yourself stuck in the endless cycle of poverty. And now it's 2023, and you hear tons and tons of people making the argument that you just didn't try hard enough. You just didn't pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. That's why you're poor. Not because of white supremacy and the institutional racism you face. And this story I told you guys was based on a true story of a black veteran named Eugene Burnett. And you are welcome to read this whole story on history.com where I got this information from. But I wanted to end this story with a quote from Mr. Burnett's wife. She said, "It was as though it wasn't real. Look at this house," she said. "Can you imagine having this? And then for them to tell me because of the color of my skin that I can't be part of it?" And this is why an opinion such as black people are just poor by choice, they're just doing it to themselves, is just completely and utterly false. We have gone through decades and centuries of white supremacist tactics to keep us down and keep us poor. And if it wasn't for all of these racist tactics, the black median net worth would be a lot higher than it is today. So with that, it's time to move into the last segment of this video, looking at you guys' responses and questions to my video and what I said. So I'm gonna play the whole 1-minute video, and you're welcome to put it in 2x speed or just skip forward to the comments. But anyway, let's get into it.
We can have different opinions and still be friends. Doesn't apply to human rights.
I've had so many people comment on my videos, stuff like this, and like, it'll be like, the reason America is so divided is because people won't accept people's differences. And I'll be like, yeah, I agree. People don't respect black people, Muslim people, gay people, so yeah, that makes sense. And they'll be like, no, it's because people won't let me believe what I want to believe without judging me. Look at me. If you believe trans people shouldn't exist on the face of the earth, we cannot be friends. I'm sorry. Your beliefs and pushing your beliefs are getting people murdered. Like, young black men who look like me are getting murdered by the police all the time. And you want me to be on your side that's murdering people who look like me. And then people always comment stuff like, oh, America's a free country. You should be able to believe in what you want without being judged. And it's like, yeah, you are. And I'm free to not talk to you. Like, what? If you like pineapple on pizza, we can still be friends. Not if you don't support women's rights. Kind of crazy I used the pineapples on pizza analogy twice. I didn't even realize it. But anyway, this guy says, dude, you are not a victim, so stop trying to be one. Cops are not murdering people of color by the thousands. That would be other people of color doing that. Yeah, you're 100% correct. There are more black people killing other black people than cops killing black people. Not once in my video did I say cops are performing a ethnic cleansing of black people in the United States. Dude, you just used a logical fallacy in order to prove your point. Like, you can't be serious. And more specifically, you used a straw man argument. And a straw man is a logical fallacy in which someone misrepresents or distorts their opponent's argument in order to make it easier to attack or refute. Like, I've made this argument like 10 times already at this point that black Americans are much more likely to be killed by police than their white peers. They are disproportionately killed by police. And you said, the police aren't committing genocide against black people. Stop pretending like you're a victim. What? Or I'll hear the argument of, oh, well, more white people are killed every year by the police than black people. Therefore, police brutality against black people doesn't exist. Like, dude, do you know what proportionality means? Like, there are way more white people in the US than black people. Again, my argument was never that more black people are killed by police. You're using logical fallacies and straw mans to try to destroy my argument. My argument was, if a white person and a black person encounter a police officer, that black person is much more likely to experience violence for no reason by that police officer. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. I've been talking about this for too long. People are insane. Black people are humans with dark skin. Two totally different things. I'm not going to willingly be party to trans delusion. Bye. Let me just tell you, bro, they would have loved you in the 50s and 60s. Separate but equal. I think white and black people are exactly the same. We just need separate water fountains, separate school, you know? Trans individuals are not insane. They were just born in the wrong body. If I was born into a girl's body and I had the mind I do today, I would absolutely hate it. I would feel disgusting. I would want to come out of those pretty dresses and that makeup all the time. I mean, I would be thinking about how I want to play sports with my male friends and my parents are making me go to dance recitals and do ballet. And if someone was born a boy and now they feel like that they're really a girl on the inside and they want to change their body to match that, why do you care in the slightest? I mean, even if you don't agree, like, who cares? Like, why are you going around voting for lawmakers and policymakers who are stripping trans individuals of their rights? Why are you on board with calling trans individuals pedophiles and demons and other horrible names and making them feel horrible about themselves? Not viewing trans people as individuals with feelings and emotions and as real people who are not insane is actively contributing to the suicide rate that we've seen so high amongst trans individuals. If no one judged them and let them do what they want and feel how they want to feel and be happy, why would they feel the need to end their lives? It's because of people like you who invalidate their experiences and how they feel on the inside and say, oh, you're just insane. And this next comment said my argument perfectly. I just want to be a bigot without actually being called a bigot. Wah! That's basically it. I've talked to some of the most racist people online. Okay, people who say horrible stuff I'm not even going to repeat about people of color. And then I'll call them out and say, what you're saying is racist. And they'll be like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? This is just my opinion. Like, for example, I just made a video about dark humor that went viral and I had thousands of comments of people telling me, hey, me joking about murdering black people is just a joke. Like, it's just humor. Like, what are you talking about? And they're extremely angry and upset that I say that joking about murdering black people is being racist. And it hits worst when you're trans and black at the same time and your own community wants you dead, but then hate being oppressed. Oh my gosh, this is so true. I'm gonna have to do a whole separate video on this issue in the future about how black people are also extremely homophobic and how they contribute to this demonization of trans people, even though they know what it feels like to be oppressed. Even though we know what it feels like to be discriminated against and told that we're evil and need to be separated from society, even then, the anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric and anti-trans rhetoric is very high amongst the black community. And some black people will complain about how we're oppressed and we don't have equality. and then try to take that same equality and rights away from other individuals like the trans community. But I'm going to end the video here, but make sure to like and subscribe and comment what topics you would like me to talk about next. And let me know how you feel about people having opinions that are direct violations of your human rights. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.